And as we know, President Obama has not had an address from the Oval Office, but luckily Fred Armisen has done the honors from Saturday Night Live. Here's some of his greatest hits.
Reform is absolutely critical, and the time for action is now. But I regret to say, they just didn't go for it. Now, despite what you may have heard on Fox News, the census is not some socialist plot to spy on the American people. Question 5. What bank do you use? What is your ATM PIN number?
So even though we haven't actually heard an Oval Office address, it kind of feels like we had.
I thought we had because of these skits. Exactly.
All right, well, now to our post-politics segment. We're joined by our favorite Washington Post reporter, I think we can say, without any doubt. And Kornblut, thank you so much for joining us on Top Line. So can you tell us what you're hearing from the White House about really what we're going to hear from the president and what they hope to accomplish tonight?
Well, they have got a lot to pack into. It's going to be about 15 minutes, maybe 17 minutes tonight. They're going to talk about the spill itself. They're going to talk about what happened, their efforts, what they've been saying from the beginning about how they knew that this was a crisis in the beginning and they've been on top of it. So they're going to talk about that. They're going to talk about their response. They're going to talk about preventing something like this in the future. And then he is going to talk about a piece of energy legislation. So that doesn't sound like a whole lot. That's 4 components. But for 20 minutes, that's going to be a lot. And there's a lot riding on this, as you all have been saying. I mean, as we know, all we've had from the Oval Office is Saturday Night Live until now, so this is a really big moment for them.
Well, and they recognize that. I'm interested that they're going that extra piece with the energy legislation and using this, a lot of interest in energy legislation, maybe not environmental legislation. There's a difference that's important here. Does the White House feel like there's a chance to paraphrase Rahm Emanuel, to not let a crisis go to waste?
Well, there's a chance and there's a risk if they don't do it. There's been a lot of pressure from the left for them to use this opportunity to make something more of this, especially in trying to not have it happen again. But there's a risk on the negative side, too, which is we already have some Republicans coming out and saying, come on, plug the hole. Stop talking about legislation. Government has already proved its ineptness. I think we're going to hear this from the Senate Minority Leader. Mitch McConnell has already put out some talking points along those lines, pre-acting, as they say.
But what do they mean by energy legislation? I mean, are we talking about limiting carbon emissions? Are we talking about environmental legislation? Or are we talking about, you know,
BP or
are we talking about drill baby drill? I mean, what are we talking about?
Well, I don't think actually we know. This is one of the things we're going to wait and see if the president, in the past, we've seen him not be specific when it comes to big legislation.
Right.
Think back to healthcare. Let's leave it to Congress. We'll see how specific he gets tonight. It has not sounded until now, but the speech is still being written like he was going to be that specific.
Because I don't get any sense out of the Hill that there's any energy for an environmental legislation on this right now.
No, but there's a danger if he doesn't at least try, because he said from the beginning, I mean, like he said on immigration, another one that people are skeptical is actually going to happen, but he said that this was his priority along with the economy. He's got to show some kind of movement somewhere on his legislative agenda. He can't just say he's going to do it one week and then drop it as the next crisis looms. So he's got to at least show that he's going this direction.
And as we've said many times about this president, the guy knows how to give a big speech, although this setting may be a little bit different. There's a clear realization, Ann, that this is a major moment for this presidency, that you end up being defined by events, defined by crises, and they need to match that moment.
Well, they need to. They've tried to pivot a number of times. I mean, this has been his 4th trip to the Gulf. Each time is supposed to be the reset button. Whether tonight can be or not, I think there's an argument to be made that it's been a month and a half and maybe this is too late for them. But they have to try.
What are they saying? Why the Oval Office?
Well, it's interesting. You know, he hadn't done it yet. It conveys a sense of gravity. They've tried other things. I mean, he's already commented in the Rose Garden. He's already done a press conference in the East Room. He's been to the Gulf. There aren't that many other places, a joint address to Congress. I mean, there aren't that many other options of places where he can get the nation's attention and convey a sense of seriousness and get, frankly, our attention in a way that's new and different. So why they haven't done it to date, you know, they like doing things differently. They didn't want to be like every other president who sits down and especially when it came to Afghanistan, talks only about war from the Oval Office. So this is perhaps a concession that some of the talking heads were right that they had to do this eventually. They would never describe it that way.
Well, it does raise the stakes, and we'll be watching. You can watch our coverage here at ABC News Now tonight, and also at ABC. We'll be following every step of the way. Ann Kornblut, Post Politics Time from the Washington Post. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And that's it for Top Line.
All right, watch us. Twitter.com/Ann. Ann is my favorite because she's the only one of the Post folks that I used to work with back at the Boston Globe. So yes, it's official. I hope you don't click tomorrow.